everyone again. Imagine a future where, a not too distant future, where each one of you have a solar panel on your roof. And that panel has been so cheap that you bought it in a supermarket or maybe at Hatil. So each one of you have it, and you can probably imagine at times you will need all the power, at times you don't need that much, so you will want to share the power. Ideally with your neighbors, no? With your community, with your neighborhood. So in this scenario, where's the utility? You have your solar panel, it's been so cheap, you bought it in the supermarket or at Hatil, it powers everything you need, and whenever you need more, you just buy it from your neighbor or you sell it to your neighbor. You're completely independent. The biggest taxi company in today's world has not a single taxi. The biggest hotel company in the world today has not a single bed. The biggest power company of the future will not have a single power plant or power station. It'll be an asset-light company. And that future is not so distant. And I'm here today to show you, usually we talk about these futuristic things and advent of the fourth industrial revolution, and usually then people ask, yeah, but what has this to do with me here in Bangladesh or in India or in Nepal? So I'm showing you today how the future energy model is being pioneered and built in Bangladesh. So let's start out with the situation on energy poverty. We heard a lot of statistics. Here's another one. A little over 2 billion people have not access to sustainable energy, which means either they don't have access to electricity at all in terms of they are off the grid, or their access is extremely intermittent. What does that mean? And I want to, as we have a very international audience here, I want to just pick 2 or 3 people, possibly from different countries. What do you pay for electricity a kilowatt hour? So let's start with Bangladesh. Let's start here. What do you know what you pay for a kilowatt hour? Anybody knows what we pay here in Dhaka? More or less? 8 taka, 15 taka. It just comes at the end of the month somehow in a bulk, right? What do we pay in Denmark, was it? I'll help you a little bit. It's about 25 euro cents. No idea? From which country are you? Tanzania. Tanzania is highly subsidized. It's probably about 5 euro cents or something. So we are talking 5 euro cents, 8 taka. Here I put you 2 numbers, $3.50 and $10.50. What do you think that is? These are Bangladesh data, even though I put it in dollars because of the international audience. So if you don't have access to electricity, you pay about $3.50 for light through a kerosene lamp, probably. Another statistic, how many people have a mobile phone and how many people have access to electricity? And if you don't have access to electricity, how do you charge your mobile phone? Right, you have to bring it to someone who has electricity, and you give your phone, you leave it for a couple of hours, and he or she will charge you. In Bangladesh, that's about 4 to 5 taka, depends where you are. If you calculate how much power a phone needs, that comes to $10.50 a kilowatt hour. This is a definition of an energy poverty penalty, which means for the same service, I pay $10, which we in Dhaka or in Denmark or in Tanzania pay a fraction. That is 100x more of penalty. And that's drastic, but we also have good news in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has the world record in terms of solar home systems. 5 million solar home systems have been installed. These are small solar systems so that people can power lights, fans, phones, and so forth. To put this into perspective, Germany, where I'm originally from, has about 2.5 million solar systems on rooftops. Bangladesh has 5. So, you know, where the energy transition, where we always call it, was born in Germany through the feed-in tariff, half as many as Bangladesh has. The whole world, and I'm talking now global south, has about 7 million. Bangladesh has 5. So something went really, really right here. But we can always improve, and it's called frugal innovation, and that's where SOLshare attacked. The situation is 600,000 kilowatt hours are being lost every day, on average, in the Bangladesh rural areas. Now remember that the value of a kilowatt hour is between $3 and $10. Let's take 5 to make it easy. $5 of value, 600,000 kilowatt hours, that's $3 million, which is lying in the rural areas in Bangladesh and nobody's able to pick it up. What's the definition of a sharing economy model? To tap into underutilized resources. This is the underutilized resource. These solar home systems, basically it's 3 p.m., the sun is shining, the battery is full. Now some of you may say, buy a bigger battery. Yes, but there is also something which we are approaching now, which is called a rainy season, where there is very little sun, and you all know from your gadgets, if you never fully charge your battery, the battery breaks. And the batteries is like the Achilles heel of this solar home system. It's the most, the costliest part of the system. So there's no technical design or engineering design fix to this problem. So we have to do something else. And remember, the biggest taxi company, the biggest hotel company, it's all sharing economy models. So what SOLshare came up with is a platform where solar home system users and non-users can exchange electricity in the rural villages of Bangladesh. And through this, they can save money, gain flexibility, and generate an income. They are empowered. They are becoming what we all call now change makers. Because now, I'm no longer a passive consumer. Now, when I have a solar home system and I can sell at any time or buy at any time, I'm a prosumer. I'm a producer and a consumer at the same time. I'm empowered because I'm an entrepreneur. I have a solar home system, I sell power, I make money. And I make it money in real time. I make the money through Bcash, which means my solar home system produces power at 3 p.m., my battery is full, my system automatically sells it to the neighbor, the money comes onto my phone, I go to the local market and buy my rice for it. That's fourth industrial revolution, that's sharing economy model per excellence, and that's in the rural areas of Bangladesh. And I'm very proud to say that the first ever, what we call here peer-to-peer, this is a technology jargon, peer-to-peer solar grid that has ever built in the world, was in Shariatpur, which is a village about 50 kilometers south from here. That's been a major breakthrough, and since then it has been replicated in New York, in London, in Munich, and obviously here in Bangladesh, all over the country. So, how does it work? Imagine someone has a solar system and someone doesn't. That person who doesn't is probably among the poorest people in the village. Otherwise, he or she would have a system. Whenever I have too much power, I sell it to the person who doesn't on a pay-per-use basis. So I can pay in very, very small installments, any kilowatt hour or watt hour I consume. And the beauty of the approach is, the more people who join the network, the stronger the network gets. It's a synergy effect. 1 + 1 is more than 2. Now imagine 1 + 1 + 1 up to 5 million. You build a gigantic grid, extremely powerful. You're no longer the passive consumer in the village waiting for the national grid coming now. Now you're empowered, you're a prosumer, and you take your energy security and your energy generation, you take it into your own hands. It's a massive, massive game changer in those villages. And what is most important is, you're no longer restricted to just using light and fan, because it's a synergy effect, which means the system growing becomes more powerful. Now we can power fridges, we can power sewing machines, we can power all kinds of corn processing like rice hulling, we can power water pumps, we can even power rickshaws. Some of you may know there are 1.5 million EVs, as we call them, electric vehicles, battery-run or battery-powered rickshaws, which are all running around in the rural areas of Bangladesh. Some of them cannot be charged. They have to drive very long to the national grid in the night. No more. Now you can service even the remotest villages because you can charge them in those grids. And who gets the money when they charge us? The people. It's the beauty of the, of the economy of a community approach. So this is a few images from the field. So you see here a fridge. It's a huge difference. The first time you can put meat into the fridge, you can preserve it, you can put medication into the fridge. It's a huge game changer if you can have appliances like this. This is what we call the SOL box, which is basically the meter, which doesn't show you kilowatt hours as we are used to it. And it's also not somewhere in the dark corner of our house. For these people, the SOL box is like the Da Vinci, like the Michelangelo. It's in the middle of the room, it's hanging on the wall like a picture, and it doesn't show watt hours, it shows taka. And it's an extreme feeling of pride when this taka amount goes up because our solar panel is producing power. So how interesting is that in Dhaka, the net metering policy has just been approved 6 months ago. We're still waiting for the first companies or households to net meter power to the grid, whereas in the rural areas, people are much more advanced. They're already trading, they're already in the future energy model, all the things of digitalization and decarbonization. These are all things which are already fulfilled there. So for this, we have an IoT platform, which basically means at any point of time, we can see how much power is being traded, what type of appliances are running, what are the algorithms, how the trade should be. So that people can either determine it themselves, okay, I want to buy, I want to sell, but we all know we basically want things just to work, right? We don't want to press a button, now I sell power, now I buy power. It should work by itself. And what tools technology gives us for that? The box learns my preferences, which means I don't need to press buttons anymore. And if I still want to do it, I have the power, but otherwise, it happens automatically. So my argument is that, and I think this is from Denmark actually, this picture, a village in Denmark, and this is in Pottuakali, a village in Bangladesh, is not so different after all. Both people here want sustainable power. So the solar peer-to-peer grids in Bangladesh may very well be the future of utilities globally. The new Uber or the new Airbnb may very well be a power company that knows how to share electricity from house to house. So to underline this, these are two of the biggest utilities in the world who invested in SOLshare, who said, yes, what you're doing there in Bangladesh is really the future, and we want to learn from that. So that's just underlining this. I spoke about the startup sector here before in the panel. The startup sector is growing massively now. More and more international investment is coming in. I'm glad to be part of it. I'm glad to be here at the right moment where this momentum is built. So thank you very much. And coming back to the topic, Maya here, a young woman, was the pioneer, what we will call later on the normal energy model, where people trade. She was one of the first to earn money from her solar home systems and called herself a smart businesswoman. So the future of energy is shaped by people probably none of us here would have expected in the room. Thank you very much.
Could we please have the Slido screen?
So, Anonymous, how much does a peer-to-peer solar grid system cost? So, the interesting thing of tapping into underutilized resources is that these 5 million solar home systems, they're already there. So the people already have a PV panel, they already have a battery, they already have appliances. So in terms of cost, a lot of the things are already there. The only thing which we have to add is this box. And this box is about 2,000 taka. That's something which you can sell over the counter, which people can basically pay in cash. So that is one of the main costs. And we're also putting internet into the villages, not because we want to do it, it's because it's needed. Unfortunately, internet signal doesn't reach all the villages we are operating, and that is an additional cost, but that's not put on the customer up front. So the key thing here, what makes a peer-to-peer grid special is it's bottom-up, which means I interconnect what's already there. I don't need to invest $100,000, $1 million for a huge panel, a huge battery, which we call a mini-grid usually. It's the other way around. We grow it bottom-up, we interconnect more and more and more, and that's how it creates strengths. If the person cannot afford a solar panel because of low income, how will she pay for the power? So if she cannot afford a solar panel, that's a typical consumer, which means I don't have a solar home system, I buy from my neighbor. So one of the wrong assumptions is that if people don't have access to electricity, is that they're living in darkness. Nobody lives in darkness. People have at least a candle, or a kerosene lamp, a hurricane, a car battery, and whenever people have something, they spend something. And that's our benchmark. If you spend like maybe 300 taka for kerosene, for lighting, then use these 300 taka instead as a substitution and pay for the solar electricity from your neighbor. And you're same off, just that you have a more sustainable and a safer power supply. Increased solar panel price because of higher demand. So one of the beauties we see in the statistics is the cost of solar power only knows one direction, which is down. It will not go up. It has come down actually in the last 10 years by 80%, and it will come down further. So it's not going to be to go up. Rather, the supply will be improved according to the demand. Time's up. Okay. In terms of last word, in terms of government rules and regulations, so there is, for the areas we are operating, and since it is bottom up and very small, the policy is that if you have more than 250 kilowatt of generation, then you fall under the regulation. If you don't, you don't. So we are fortunate enough that we don't fall under the regulation, because all of the solar systems are 50 watt peak, 100 watt peak, 200 watt peak, and so forth. So the policy framework here is actually quite good for a peer-to-peer approach. Time is up, I saw. So thank you very much.